Hi and welcome back to Tales Against Humanity, I don't work here lady. In today's episode, I don't call him his name either. What do you mean she's your mom? I'm a soldier, not a store employee. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I don't call him his name either. The words, "I don't work here" aren't present in the story, but since it is one part of the misunderstanding that follows, I figure it's appropriate. Last night my daughter came home from her job. She works retail in a nearby shopping plaza, with the sad news that their neighboring store, which specializes in kitchenware, is having a going out of business sale. It was tragic news in our home, as my wife and daughter both share a passion for baking and cooking and shop there often. So much so that the owner, my wife, and our daughter are on a first-name basis. Ever since my daughter was little, she was mommy's helper in the kitchen. It's been a running gag in our house the past few years that we give her a 5-pound bag of flour among her Christmas presents. Now 17, she enjoys flying solo in the kitchen, and her pierogies are food not to be eaten but experienced. My wife is feeling under the weather, so she gave me a list of things to look at, plus a surprise item more later. I agreed to meet my daughter at the store when she finished work. My daughter had gotten there a little early, and I was a little late leaving the house, so she had already been in the store by the time I arrive. That's when the fun begins. Our cast: SD, sweetheart daughter, spoiler, foreshadowing. OL, obnoxious lady. NSO, nice store owner. I arrive at the store and find SD chatting with NSO, commiserating over the store closing. NSO was feeling sad and appreciated SD's sympathy, so I decided to shop for a bit and let them finish their conversion. I had barely made it 20 feet before I was overwhelmed by some of the choices. Nearby stood a middle-aged woman who, even with a mask, you could tell wore a perpetual scowl that curdled milk in a 5-mile radius. So I turned towards SD and said, "Hey sweetheart, I have a question." "OL, sweetheart. That's not how you address a woman." At this point, SD hears the kerfuffle and sprints over, knowing that the gene that allows one to suffer fools gladly is only present in my wife's DNA. NSO wasn't with her, apparently having just begun ringing someone up. Me, but she's OL, talking over me, raising her voice, "You sexist. She has a name." Me, yes, I know. I was going to point out I gave her that name, after my grandmother, but she continued raising her voice. OL, you address her politely as, emphatically, miss, or use her name. SD, now arriving, putting her hands up, "Look, it's okay." OL, turning to SD, "No, it is not okay. You should not have to put up." SD, raising her voice, "It's okay. I don't call him by his name either. I call him Dad." It's obvious that the embarrassment is now further exacerbating OL's rage, and were I not suffering fools gladly challenged, I'd have just let things go, but as I mentioned, I lack that gene. Me, this is the part where a reasonable person apologizes. OL just glares at me, determined not to give me the satisfaction before turning and walking away. Me, yeah, I knew our little exchange was one reasonable person short. Come on, with emphasis, sweetheart, let's finish, with emphasis, Mom's shopping list. We worked through the rest of the list, filling our basket and ferrying up the larger items to the counter. There are no shopping carts. Thankfully OL had gone by the time NSO began ringing us up. Me to NSO, I forgot one thing. This is where the aforementioned surprise comes in. I hurriedly returned with the deluxe KitchenAid stand mixer that elicited a puzzled look from my daughter, as we already have one. Turning to my daughter, "This one's for you. Mom and I figure that someday when you have your own place, you'll have your first appliance." Cue misty eyes from my daughter. NSO gave us an extra $50 off, which was yet another nice surprise. "What do you mean she's your mom?" So this happened about a month ago, and it's the one time I was not in the best of moods whatsoever. People involved: me is me, IK is irritating Karen, and KK is Karen's kid. I'm sorry for this being very long, I just didn't know how to shorten it. I'm a 6th form student. I live in England, which means I have to wear smart office wear for school, which for me involved a black shirt and tie, black smart trousers and black shoes. I like the color black. Now normally when I'm in a store, me and my mom will split up so I can get the things I want so we don't waste time due to the current global irritation called COVID. This means I walk around alone with just my headphones and listening to my music, heavy metal. So I'm walking down the fizzy drink aisle, as I needed to get something for me to drink for the next couple days. I can't hear anything due to the headphones, so I'm ignoring most things, which was probably a big mistake that day, as I didn't notice the massive problem that we know as Karen. Even though my school uniform looked nothing like the shop's uniform, IK must have thought that I worked there as I was looking for my drink. I'm guessing she called out to me, but I didn't hear her as I see her feet pointing at me with a smaller set next to them while us was changing the song on my headphones, which I took one out. IK, do all of the employees ignore customers like you? I'm confused as I had just taken one of my headphones and stood up as I was crouching to get my bottle of drink, meaning I couldn't even get a word out before she started getting in my face. IK, I'll ask again, where can I get something nice for my son? Me, I don't know, to be honest. I had not had the best day as I had barely any sleep and I had nearly gotten into an argument at school, which explains my tone. IK, you must know you're the one who works here. Me, I don't work here, never have. As I walk away I feel her hand grab my arm. For any interested, I have done martial arts since I was 5, so I know what I'm doing. I snap my arm away from her, but don't do anything else as I didn't want to do anything while her son was there. The son looked around 6 to 7 years old. Me, don't grab me again. IK, how dare you threaten a customer in the middle of a store? I want to speak to your manager right now. As she said this, my mom walked into the aisle, which was perfect timing as she is really good at playing along. I pointed behind IK towards my mom, who had left the trolley on the side to hide it. Mom, what's the problem here? Can I help you, ma'am? IK, yes you can. I'm complaining about this employee. She pointed at where I was standing, but I walked away to an actual employee who got the actual floor manager, which I explained what happened before we got back to the aisle. As we walked back I could hear the screeches from IK. IK, that stupid little B*****, how dare he walk away from me while I was talking to him. I want him fired for this, and I won't be leaving until I see him get fired. Me, who had moved to stand about 6 feet behind here with the manager behind me. Excuse me, are you going to speak to the manager, or are you going to complain to a total stranger until the shop is closed? IK, who had turned around at this point to look at me, noticing the manager in uniform behind me as she got even more irritated than I was. What do you mean she's your mom? Me, well it's quite obvious, she's my mom, my parent. Don't you know what one of those are, considering your son is standing right next to you? This is the manager and I'm going to be leaving. I said that because I was getting irritated and just wanted to go home and relax for a bit. IK, you are not going anywhere, you little twat. As she said that, she tried to run at me and grab me, where I responded by moving out the way and saying that's not very social distance of you. And why your son has an amazing person to look up to. Before I walked off with my mom and didn't bother to buy anything but my bottle of drink. I'm a soldier, not a store employee. Inspired by the US Navy sailor's story, here is one of my stories. On mobile, so please excuse any weird formatting. For this particular story, I was actually in uniform, which makes the whole situation all the more weird. Canadian working uniform for the Army is a digital camouflage pattern called CADPAT. Pretty unique and identifiable. The store I was in wears black pants with tunnish colored collared shirts. In the story we have me, old lady, OL, dumb lady, DL, and store manager, SM. I had just gotten off from work and was on my way home and stopped for groceries. Our command lets us stop in uniform on the way home to do this. They see it was a visual recruiting tactic and lets people know that we are in the community. I'm a reservist artillery soldier. As I was looking at milk trying to decide what to buy, a little old lady came up to me and asked for help. What threw me off initially was the fact she used my rank, gunner, artillery for private. She explained that her grandson was a bombardier, artillery for corporal, in a regular force artillery regiment. She was struggling lifting the milk bags. I decided I would help her shop and get her groceries at least into her ride for her. I spent a good 45 minutes with her helping her shop around. The interaction with the dumb lady came as the old lady was checking out. DL, now that you're done you can get my things for me. Me, sorry ma'am, but I don't work here and I have my own shopping to do. I'm sure one of the bag boys or stalkers could help you out. DL, you clearly work here, you got all that old bat stuff for her. Now I demand you help me. OL, he really isn't an employee. He's a soldier just helping an old woman with some shopping. DL, I don't care what he says he is. He clearly knows the store, so he must work here. You're done shopping so he can help me now. She was getting louder now and attracting attention. Me, ma'am, I really don't work here. If you could lower your voice, I could help you find an employee if you really need some assistance. DL, don't you tell me what to do, boy. Now a manager has shown up due to the commotion. SM, good afternoon, is there anything I can help you out with? DL, yes, this boy is refusing to help me after he helped another customer. This is terrible customer service, and he should be fired. OL, he clearly doesn't work here. He's a gunner in the Canadian Armed Forces. He's wearing a military uniform and everything. SM, he definitely doesn't work here. We don't have any soldiers that work in this store. Even reservists, which I assume he is. DL, you all have terrible customer service. Haven't you ever heard of the customer is always right? I'm calling corporate and I will never shop here again. SM, that is perfectly fine. The door is right this way. He then escorted the dumb lady outside, with her yelling the whole way. OL, well that's enough excitement for this old woman. Hopefully the rest of your day is much more peaceful. I'll have my son come pick me up. Go do your shopping and thanks for helping me. Me, anytime ma'am. And tell your grandson thanks from Gunner SG Canadian with the redacted regiment. I then went and finished my shopping and wanted to get the hell out of there. The store manager was waiting for me at the front and opened a register for me to check out. He gave me the store employee discount too, saying you clearly work here after all with an accompanying wink and laugh. He then told me he was a reservist while going through university and thanked me for what I did.